Welcome to the 2025 Festival of Cinema NYC here in Forest Hills in Queens. For our viewers at home, tell us a little bit about your film. We'll jump right into it.
Sure. Moments of Youth is a film that takes place the night before a senior high school graduating class graduates, and this school always has an enormous scavenger hunt the night before graduation. This year is the biggest prize in the history of the school, so throughout the night they do a bunch of really fun and adventurous and funny tasks, and then they talk about their futures and what propelled them to this point and what their dreams are. But there's also kind of an underlying current that this particular group of friends had a traumatic event, which we reveal sort of 2/3 into the movie, and this night kind of serves as their way of overcoming the event.
Where was the inspiration for this story? It's a fun story. I absolutely enjoyed it. I actually watched it twice.
Oh, you did? That's wonderful.
Where did the inspiration for the story come from? Because it flowed so well.
Oh, thank you so much. So I've always loved the classic John Hughes movies, Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Breakfast Club. And, I love movies that take place in one day. I love teen films. The initial script was all about a scavenger hunt. And then the more and more I got into it, the more and more I realized I wanted to say something pretty profound. So we obviously kept all the scavenger hunt stuff, but, I got to thinking about what was kind of the most current issue with young kids today. And it's something that hasn't really been talked about much in TV and film. So I wanted to address that. And, I wanted this to kind of be a time capsule of today.
For our viewers at home, what did you want to address?
Say that again?
For our viewers at home, what did you want to address?
It's a pretty big spoiler, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's you'll see when you watch it. Yeah.
So how long did it take you to write this film? Your casting was really, really well casted, so tell me about your casting process.
Sure. It took me a couple weeks to write it. I usually write pretty quickly, but then rewriting is usually the thing, so a couple months to rewrite it. Casting was a lot of fun. We shot here in Connecticut. Well, we're in New York right now, and pretty much all the actors were from New York, except a handful of our name talent. Sherry O'Terry and John Farley came out from LA, who were both wonderful. But we cast all of the younger roles in Manhattan. It was right on the edge of the first wave of COVID when we filmed the first part of the movie. So a lot of it was done virtually. Then we did a callback in the city. It was a very fun process. We had thousands of people submit, all wonderful actors, and it was just it was a blast to cast, and so many talented people brought so many different elements to the roles, and I'm so thrilled with who we end up with.
Your locations is another good character about the film. So tell us about your locations. They're absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I figured that if we're going to be exploring throughout the whole night of the movie and during the day, I wanted it to kind of serve as you said, a character. So I sort of wrote with all of these locations in mind. A lot of the places I've been to and know them very well. The baseball stadium, I played in many times growing up. The carnival scenes, that's a very common thing in Connecticut. The private jet took us about a year and a half to book, but it was wonderful to have. Yeah, I as you said, you hit it right on, because we did certainly want it to be a character. And the miniature golf scene I love, the beach stuff, everything we really got. And we also had wonderful weather too, so it just was able to, even in the editing suite, I was able to even make it even more of a character than, say, I anticipated. So yeah.
You're inspired by John Hughes. You love those one-day films, as we call it, or that film that takes place in a certain time period. Is that, as a filmmaker, is that harder or is that easier to write and shoot?
So I think it's nice to have like kind of a I would say almost like a blueprint of what people love. So for me, I always say, and when I was telling the whole cast and everyone, I was saying that no matter how many times you've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, if it comes on TV and you're flipping through the channels, you still watch it. Just because it has such a nostalgic feeling to it. And I think for me, the other filmmaker, if you can tell from the film, my favorite director is Tim Burton. That's a bit of a spoiler, but that's okay. I think you know what works, and you know what people love, and I like to write and make films that I would want to watch, right? So when I'm inspired by some of the best, I do create my own entirely different take on it, but there's a lot of really, really wonderful films that have been made that you can learn a lot from, and I did all the way, growing up all the way till while we were shooting it, I still watched these.
What was your aha moment when you knew that you had this? Was it during the filming? Was it during the post process? When was that I knew you had it, what you originally visioned years prior?
Wonderful question. So I knew it was a wonderful script. I knew it was, once we cast and we had our read through, and the scene when we reveal the big event, we finished it, and it was dead silent for about 5 minutes, and everybody just said, whoa, and we had to take a break. At that moment, I knew we had something very, very special. And then, obviously, that carried through production and into post-production and everything. But I would say that was the moment, yeah.
What I loved your film, period, but there's a lot of aspects that I really paid attention to. Is you captured that nostalgia of Connecticut, which is really hard to do. I mean, I'm a Texan. I've never been to Connecticut, but I have friends that grew up in Connecticut, grew up in that area. So talk to me about the difficulties and the painstaking task of capturing that nostalgia perfectly without underdoing it, but also without overdoing it.
Yeah, so what I would say is I've always lived in Connecticut, so a lot of these places I know very well, and I think that I know the environment, I know the people, I know the culture extremely well. So it was sort of, kind of like second nature that I would...
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is you knew Connecticut.
Oh, yeah.
How did you, how did you capture a mundane thing that would be very important to the story? Because a lot of times when I look at films from Texas or I'm working on films, everything I see every day is like, oh, it's boring, no one will get it, it's dull. How did you pick those moments out? I mean, it's...
So I think what this film does is it captures a lot of universal themes. So I used Connecticut as a character, but also I think, if I had shot it in a different place, I feel as though a lot of what we explore could be relatable even for somebody like you from Texas. So I don't think it was necessarily that if we had shot it elsewhere, it would have still worked the same way because of what we're doing, right? Because I think going back to like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, everyone can relate to it, right?
Right.
So I think the moments in this movie are things that everybody remembers from high school or college or growing up, and I use my own personal experience growing up in Connecticut and going to high school in Connecticut as what I know of how it is in Connecticut. Yeah.
So it looks like you got several buses. You bust all your family and friends, and the cast and crew in. What does it mean to have this film here at Festival Cinema NYC, to show it to the Queens crowd?
Yeah, it's an absolute honor. It's a privilege. I'm so excited because this is our U.S. premiere, and so much of my family is here. So much of our cast and crew are able to come. The festival has been absolutely wonderful, and it's been a joy. We've been in so many festivals, and I was extremely hopeful that this would be where we'd be able to premiere in the United States for so many reasons. I love everything about this festival. I love that it's very close to where I live and where a lot of our cast and crew and my family live, so everyone's able to come. Yeah, it just, it's wonderful, and I'm sure it's going to hit me when we get in there.
What was the most difficult thing to overcome while making this film, and what did you learn about yourself professionally and personally while making this film?
I would say that most difficult thing was probably the amount of different scenes we had and the amount of different places we had to go, and and under a certain budget. You know, this movie should have probably been much more expensive. If you read the script, it should have been a much bigger budget. But I love the challenges of that. You know, having to pivot on set, which is what we had to do all the time. And what I learned about myself, I think more than anything, I think directing, a lot of it is knowing how to manage certain personalities. I think that in order to get the best performance from someone, not only an actor but a crew member or a producer, I think you have to know how to relate to them. And I learned that that's about 50% of the process. You know, everybody's very talented, but in order to inspire, I think you have to know how specifically to reach each person. And I think you know, I think more than anything, I'm very proud of the film, and I'm proud of what we did. And I think that if I were to say something else I learned, it would probably be how much hands-on I need to be in every single aspect, because I'm very specific about even, you know, wardrobe. I picked everybody's wardrobe with the wardrobe department. I picked every single shot. I picked, you know, every single piece is you know, essentially either my genesis or it was come to me and I made a choice immediately. And I love that, you know, because forever it'll only ever say a film by one person, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
What are you reading? What are you watching? What's inspiring you right now?
Yeah, right now I am currently, you know, I'm always watching multiple different shows. I'm always watching, you know, every movie that comes out. Typically, I just saw a film that I absolutely loved. It was directed by Billy Crystal called Here Today. Came out a couple years ago. I love these kinds of films. You know, I recently watched that. I watched, currently, as far as TV series go, I'm watching, I'm very excited for, I believe it's coming out soon, is Daisy Jones and the Six, the second season.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shows I've ever watched. I'm currently watching Motorheads on Amazon. Yeah, I watch literally everything. So yeah, I could go on for days talking about it. I love watching anything.
Lastly, what are the socials and the website for the film so we can, you know, sharing your successes and follow your successes?
So yeah, so my social is Gregory_Pellerito 21. The film socials are all about to be made up. We just signed an acquisition deal with worldwide rights with Buffalo 8.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. So they are Buffalo 8 Prods, I believe, on Instagram. They've been a wonderful partner. And then, you know, the film socials will be coming up next. So
congratulations on
you.
such a great film.
Thank you, Dev. It's been a pleasure.